Welcome everyone to the second part of my rigging tutorial. Hopefully you have this model and your skeleton set that you have created for the session 1. So we are going to start from this point onward. Now, since we have created the entire skeleton, it's time for us to combine or bind this to our skin. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to my hypergraph hierarchy, which I can do by going into Windows, Generators, Hypergraph hierarchy, and I'm going to select everything. That means all of my bones. I can do this selection like this, and I'm going to select my mesh as well. With the shift key I can do that. I'm going to select my mesh as well. See, so this is easier. It makes it easier for me to select everything. You can make a selection like this, and there are other ways of making selection as well. You can go to Windows Outliner and you can make sure you select everything here as well. But you can see when I select from the hypergraph hierarchy, it gives me different colors, but when I select from Outliner, it gives me different color, indicating that there's a difference between the selection. There is. So to avoid this ambiguity, what we are going to do is we are going to create layers. That means I'm going to create a separate layer in Maya, and I'm going to assign my skeleton set to it. I'm going to create again a new layer and assign my mesh to it. So these layers are a way of controlling a complex set of objects that you have. And when you are working on a complex rig, it will be very easier for you to use these layers in order to make your animations and rigging sets happen. So let me show you how it's done. You can see the channel box and the layer panel is right here. You can create new layers and empty layers and everything. But I'm going to select my skeleton set first of all. I can do that by clicking the hip bone, because you can remember hip bone was the root bone of everything. So if you go to hypergraph hierarchy and select on any bone, it can be selected, but when you select on hip bone, it selects everything because that's the parent bone. So while this is selected, you can see this small icon right here. It says create a new layer and assign selected objects. So if I click on it, it creates a layer. And the best part is I can rename this layer. Let's name it as skeleton. And also you can give a color to uniquely identify which layer that you are referring to. So for example, if I give red color and click on save, and if I deselect this, you can see the bones are in red color. So whatever the color that you assign here will be visible. If I set it to green color, so that's green color. It's easier for you to refer to it. You can select any color that you want. So I'm going to do the same for the mesh. I'm going to select that and create a new layer, and let's name it as skin. So these are skin for the character. So skin mesh, and let's give a color like a blue color, so it's easier for us to refer. There's no particular kind of a rule for the colors. You can select everything that you want. Alright, now since we have the skeleton set like this, so you can move it up and down. You can see that's not the way, because if I move the skeleton, the mesh should move it along with the movement of the skeleton set. But it doesn't happen at the moment because we don't have any binding connecting the skeleton set to the mesh. So let's do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the hypergraph hierarchy, and just like I showed you earlier, I'm going to select everything including my mesh. So everything is in the white color. You can see that. See? Okay, now I can go to rigging menu set, skin. I can go to the bind skin options, rigging menu set, skin, bind skin option, and I can reset it to just to make sure that these values are default values, and click on bind skin. Now if I go to hypergraph hierarchy and if I select the hip bone, see, if I move it up and down, it moves the entire character with it. The reason this skeleton has been binded to the skin, so whatever the changes that I'm doing, whatever the movement that I'm doing for the skeleton will be affected. So example, if I select on leg and if I move it up and down, see, that affects the skin as well. Now if I select this one, if I move it up and down, it affects the skin. But this is wrong, right? This is not actual movement. The reason for it is that we don't have any IK constraints. If you can remember the robot leg lesson that we have done, we have created the IK constraint combining the leg to control it. So this is the next step that we want to have. We need to create IK constraint. So for the leg, the IK constraint that I'm going to create is from the left upper leg to left leg, and for the right leg, right upper leg to right leg, and for the arms, left upper arm to the left arm, and right upper arm to the right arm. So let's create these IKs. To create IKs, you need to go to rigging menu set, skeleton, create IK handle. So the first one is from left upper leg, so I'm going to click on the circle right here, and then second click will be on the left leg. So you can see there is a IK constraint created. If you go to the hypergraph hierarchy, you should see your IK handle 1, and you can move it like this, so the leg controller will work nicely. So you can see character's leg can be moved. So let me undo it and bring it to the 0th position. So I'm going to go to outliner and rename my IK. So this is left leg, this character's left leg, so left leg IK. And let's do the same for the right side. So skeleton, create IK handle, right upper leg to right leg, and I'm going to rename this as right leg IK. So we have the left leg IK and right leg IK. Again, similar way I can control the right leg as well. Now the next thing is the arm. So let's go to skeleton, create IK handle. So left upper arm to left arm. You can see we can control the arm like this. So I'm going to rename this to left, characters left again, arm IK. Arm IK. And let's do the same for the right side as well. So skeleton, create IK handle, right upper arm to right arm, and I can control. So this should be right arm IK. So we have 4 IKs now: left leg IK, right leg IK, and left arm IK and right arm IK. So we have 4 IK constraints. Next thing is the spine IK. Now spine IK cannot be created using the same IK controllers because we have a separate one called create IK spline handle. Now how to create this? Now our spine starts with the hip bone. So from the hip it goes to spine 1, spine 2, spine 3 and to spine 4. So what I want is a spine IK creating from hip to spine 4. Okay, let's create that. So I'm going to go to skeleton, create IK spline handle, click on the hip and click on the spine 4, just like that. So I get 2 options actually. If you look at it, I get the IK handle 1. So let's rename this to spine IK, and I get a curve 1. Now curve 1, if you look at it, it's right here in the middle, in the below. I will tell you the reason for it, but for now if you select from the curve, and basically goes up and down like this. So for now I'm going to rename this to spine IK curve. So we have 2 spine IK and spine IK curve. So let me show you what you get with the spine IK. Now if you select spine IK and if you go to your channel box, you can see there are 2 options called twist and roll. So these are the 2 things, 2 controllers that we are getting with the spine IK. Let me show you how it works. For example, the roll, if you select on roll and if you take the mouse pointer to an empty area, if you drag from the middle mouse button, so this is roll, see, that is what you're getting. And if you click on twist, this is the twist. So we have roll and twist from the spine IK. Okay, that's good. Let's go ahead and save this file. So I'm going to save this as a different version quickly. Alright, let's go to the second part. Now second part is that we have all of this IK, but we need to make it easier for us to control. Now if we are creating animation, you need to go to the outliner, select the left leg IK, get the move tool and move it. And if you want to do the same thing for the right leg IK, again select it. But it's very difficult for you to select and exactly pinpoint the location, isn't it? Because it's not that visible. So when you're creating a rig like this, it's always easier for you to refer or to create some handlers which allows you to manipulate this object. That is exactly what you're going to do. So let me show you how it works. So to control the left leg of this character, I'm going to create a nerve curve and attach my left leg IK to that particular curve. So when I move in that object, the leg will be moved. So I'm going to use a nerve surface here. So you can sort of curves surfaces, you can go here and click on this nub circle, which you get one in the middle. So let me increase the size a little bit. So can you understand now that moving from this circle is much more easier, because you can easily select it rather than selecting from the IK one by one. So this is for the reference purposes only. This won't be visible in the final rendering, but however, it's always make it bit interesting. It's easier for you to select. So the circle is a bit difficult to select, but if you shape it in a way that it's aligned with your leg, it's easier for you to understand where the movement is. So this is exactly what I'm going to do. Let me go to the control vertex mode, which you can do by right clicking on it, and you can touch from these vertices and make it a little bit easier to handle. And please note that this is completely only for the preview purposes only. There's no particular kind of a use of doing this, in the sense you can keep it as a circle, you can keep it as a square, and you can make it nice a shape like this, you can make it into a nice shape like this, but it doesn't make any difference with the controller. Only difference is it just look nicer and make it a little bit easier for you to select these objects, and gives a nice kind of a control feeling to your projects. So let me make it like kind of a leg shape. We can get it like that. Again, there's no particular use of doing this except for the fact that it looks better. Keep that in mind. So if I move to the object mode, let me rotate it a little bit, align with the leg. Okay, object mode. Now this will be used to control the left leg of my character. However, you can see the center point of this object is somewhere here, but it should be aligned with the center point of this IK handle. So how can I do that? Well, I can select this object, and there is an option called snap to points or snap to pivot. If you turn on this snap to points option, snap to pivot option, you can see when I move this, it just snaps to the points. So I need to snap it to the point right here. So it exactly matches the IK left leg IK center. Okay, let's look at from the other viewports as well. Alright, looks better. And just verify to the viewpoint. Yeah, so it's exactly in the middle. So that's what I need. I can turn off the snap to points, and after you snap it, you'll be able to realize that okay, we need to do some small adjustments. For example, I want to take a little bit further the front. It's easier for me to select this and to this side as well. Okay, brilliant. That's what I need. Right, let's take a copy of this to the other side as well. Bit too large format there, so I'm gonna, okay, much better. Let's get a duplicate to the other side. Sorry about that. Let's make sure this is also snapped to the center. Can double check. Okay, that's fine. No, it's not, isn't it? See, now it should be fine. Yep. Okay, so let's rotate this other side, so I can check on the rotation here. So it has a rotation of 9.559, so I can do the same for the other side, which is a minus value. Okay, and I get this leg for the other side. So a little bit okay, so much better. So we have two controllers which basically allows us to control the left leg and the right leg. Okay, so let's rename it. So I'm going to go to window outliner, and I'm reading this to left leg controller, because that's what we are going to control this leg with, and this one to right leg controller, because that's what we're going to use to control the right leg of it. Okay, let me undo this very quickly. Let me rename it again. So this is left leg controller. and it is right leg controller. Now, since we have two controllers, we need to make sure that these two controllers are bound to our object. That means this one should be bounded to our left leg IK, right? The left leg IK is the one that controls the leg, but I want to do the same thing when I'm moving this one. When I'm moving this up and down, it should move the leg. That's the whole point of creating this left leg controller. And one more reason to create this is that I should be able to bring it to the original position without worrying about destroying my rig. For example, if I move my left leg IK to a place like this, and imagine that I do something else and I don't have any undos, so I won't be able to bring it to the original position without typing the correct value. Now, but the problem is, you can see at the 0th position the values here are not 0, so I have to memorize these values, so write it down somewhere in order to bring it to the original position. So we can avoid that by making the position value of this object at this point a 0. For example, if I make all of this 0, when I move it, I can type 0 and make sure that it comes to the original position. So I can do that by freezing the transformation. That means I can instruct Maya that this particular curve at this particular place should be 0, 0. So I can go to modify, freeze transformation options. So I'm going to freeze the translate, rotate and scale, and click on freeze transform. You can see these values become 0 now. That means this object right here, which is a left leg controller, at this particular point is in the 0th location. And I can do the same for this one. So I can go to modify, freeze transformation. Okay, let's go and bind it. So what I'm going to bind is left leg controller. So with the control key, I'm going to select left leg IK, because I'm going to bind left leg controller with the left leg IK. So I can do that by going into rigging, constraint menu, and there is a constraint called point, because it's a point to point constraint. So I can go to the options of the point constraint, I can reset it, I can turn on option called maintain offset, because I want to have the same offset as my IK constraint with my when I bind it to my left leg controller, and I'm going to turn on constraint all axis because it should be XYZ movement, and I'm going to click on add. Okay, now if this works properly, when you select the left leg controller, if you move it up and down, the leg should move like this. Look at that. So now you don't have to select your IK, you can simply select your controller and you can move it, the leg will move. And the best part is, you can always type 0 and it comes to the original position. Why? Because we made it sure that this particular position is a 0th position. So this is the usage of creating controllers. Okay, let's do the same for the right side. So I'm going to select this with the control key. I'm going to select right leg IK, and I'm going to go with constraint point. Now if I click on this, it should move the leg with it. Right, so we have that. Let's start and continue with the arm. So for the arms also, I'm going to create two nub curves. So this one right here, bring it to the arm, scale it a little bit. Again, I'm repeating this again and again. You can keep it as a circle, okay? There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just making it look nicer, so it looks better and easier for me to select it, because more space I have, more shape that I have, easier for me to select the particular IK that I'm controlling. Alright, so let's snap it to the left arm IK as well. So I want to snap the center point to right here of this particular curve. So I can do that by again turning on snap to points and moving this exactly in the middle of this particular bone right here. You won't get it in the first attempt, maybe you have to move it till a couple of times in order to get it exactly to the center, just like this. Okay, so let me switch to the vertex mode. So you can straight away switch to vertex mode by pressing function F8, or rather function 8 key, and you can switch to F9 or or F8 again to go back to the object mode. So F8 basically straight away switch to the vertex mode. Just a keyboard shortcut rather than writing right clicking on it and switching to vertex mode all the time. Let me make some like small changes to this one as well, just aesthetic changes. It will make sure that it's easier for us to control. Okay. Yeah, much better. Now let's make a copy to the other side as well. So I'm going to create a duplicate, Control D, and bring one to the other side as well. So I'm going to turn on snap to point and make sure that he's also snapped to the center point of this right arm IK, which is right here. Okay, that's good. Now let's go ahead and rename these two. So this one is basically left arm controller. So I'm right to double click on it and say left arm controller, and this one right here is right arm controller. So let's go ahead and bind these two. So again, just like we did for the legs, you can select the left arm controller. With the control key you can select left arm IK and go to constraint point. Now what happens is you will be able to move the hand with the left arm controller. And same thing, so I have a spelling mistake here. So you can select the right arm controller. With the control key you can select right arm IK and go to constraint, click on point. So now you can see you can control the right arm with it as well. So we have 4 controllers. Well, there's something else that we need to do as well. What about the rotation of the leg? Now we can move it up and down, left and right, and you can always bring it up to 0 as well. But what if we want to make sure that we want to rotate the leg like this? For example, if I drag from this particular bone and I can rotate it, I want to make sure that capability is also assigned to this particular controller. So to do that, I'm going to select my left leg control. I'm going to hold the shift key. While holding the shift, I'm going to click on left leg bone. I should basically select all 3 bones right here. So I will do it again. I will select my left leg controller. With the shift key pressed, I'm going to select this. So this is not a point constraint. I want to connect this as an orient constraint because it's orientation. So I'm going to go to constraint, go to orient constraint option, reset it, maintain the offset. So I'm going to constrain all axes and click on add. Now if it is working properly, when you click on left leg controller, you should be able to rotate it down, right. Okay, let's do the same for the other side as well. So with the shift key, I'm going to select all the right leg bones as well, like that. Constrained orient. So when you rotate, you can rotate the leg as well. So I did a smaller mistake here. Before I bind my hand to the controller, I should have reset the values. I forgot to reset the values. Remember, now if I made a mistake, I can't type 0 and bring it to the 0 position because it goes to a different place. So because of that, let me undo this constraint. You can undo the constraint again and start from the beginning and do it, or you can undo up to the point where I don't have the constraint anymore, and you can continue from that point onward. Whatever the method, make sure before you bind your left arm control into this one that you're not you're resetting, you're freezing, you translate XYZ and everything to the 0th value. Okay, let's continue. We want to create the hip controller, so I'm going to create another curve, make it a little bit larger, and I'm going to move it up, and the center point of this should be, I'm going to turn on the snap to point, should be exactly hip. It should map to the hip like this. Okay, now let's make it a little bit smaller so we can easily handle the hip. And this one, I'm going to move it up and move it back like this. So I don't want these parts to play a major role here. Okay, so that's my hip controller. So let me rename this to hip controller. You can go to window outliner and rename it to hip controller. And I'm going to reset the position here as well, so because previous time for the hand I forgot about it, let's do it earlier. So modify freeze transformation, so everything becomes 0 right here. Okay, so what should be binded for this one? Now think about it carefully. How can I move the entire character? So I have two attributes, two kind of parameters that I can bind here. I can have the spine IK, but the problem with spine IK is that you don't get the movement with it. Even if I select spine IK, I don't get any movement with it. But if you select spine IK curve, you get the movement, and spine IK curve is the one actually you need to bind. See, when I move the spine IK curve up, it moves like that, and you can see these strings, they show the constraint. The best part is if you move it down, which you can see, it doesn't allow the character to go down usually, because these two constraints or four constraints that we have, they basically hold the character. So this is what we need. We need to make sure that spine IK curve is the one that we need to bind. So to do that, we need to make sure the spine IK curve, which is right below in the near to the grid, so it's right here near to the grid, it's exactly aligned with the hip. That means the center point of the spine IK should be aligned with the hip. We can't just move this spine IK now. See, we can't move the spine IK curve because it's moved the character. But what we need to do is move the center point of this spine IK curve to the hip. So how to do that? Well, I'm going to turn on the center point and hold the letter D on the keyboard, which will show you the pivot movement. This is known as the pivot movement. This is how you, as long as you hold the D key, you will be in the pivot movement. You can move it up. So hold the D key, move it up, and make sure snap to point is on, that this is exactly aligned with the hip. Okay, here we go, it's exactly aligned with the hip. When that happens, you can turn off, let go of the D key and turn off the snap to point, and it's right there. Okay, so let's bind. So I'm going to select the hip controller, make sure that the transformations are freezed, and with the control key I'm going to select the spine IK curve. Alright, now I can go to constraint, click on point. Now if you select the hip controller, if you move it up and down, it controls the character. See? Okay, what about the rotation though? Now think about the rotation. If I select my spine IK curve, if I press E to get the rotation, so I have the rotation like this. See, that's a realistic rotation. So this is rotate X, and we have rotate Z. That's also correct. But what about the rotate Y? See, rotate Y is not correct. So I want you to understand the difference. Rotate X is correct, rotate Z is correct, but rotate Y is not something that I need. But we had something that basically gives you the correct rotate Y. Can you remember the twist and roll options that we have? So we have the twist and roll option in the spine IK. So this, if I select the spine IK, go to the channel box, this is the roll and twist. Now if you select roll and use the mouse wheel to drag left and right, so this is what we need for the rotate Y, isn't it? Okay, so now let me recap. We want our hip controller to be binded to the spine IK curve in the rotate X, rotate Z, but not in the rotate Y. For the rotate Y we need the roll. So this is exactly what we are going to do. So I'm going to select the hip controller. With the control key I'm going to select the spine IK curve that has been selected, and I'm going to go to constraint, orient, options, reset this, maintain the offset. So what I need is the x-axis and the z-axis only. Y-axis I'm going to leave empty, because for the Y I'm going to separately bind the spine IK row. For now select X and Z and add. And now if you select your hip controller, if you enable the rotation by pressing E, the X works, Z works, but not the Y, because we haven't bind anything to the Y. So let's go ahead and bind the roll of spine into hip controller Y. To do this you need to have something called a connection editor. So we are going to create a connection between hip controller's rotate Y and spine IK roll. So let's go to Windows, General Editors, Connection Editor. So we have left side and right side. For the left side I'm going to select hip controller and click on reload left, which will load all the attributes of the hip controller. And I'm going to select the spine IK and reload to the right, so it will load all the properties of the spine IK. Now I can select which two attributes that I want to link with. So I want to link the rotate Y of the hip controller, this is the hip controller, to roll option of the spine IK, which is right here. So you can see it becomes italic as soon as I click on it, meaning that I have created a connection. So I have created a connection between hip controller rotate Y and spine IK roll, and click on close. Now if you do it correctly, if you select on this hip controller, if you go to the rotation, the Y axis should give you the roll. This is what we wanted. Okay, let's continue. So I'm going to create a copy of this one, a duplicate, to create the chest controller. Let's rename this as chest control. And make sure the chest control is exactly aligned with the spine 4. It should be aligned with the spine 4. Here it is. Let's make sure that it's exactly in the middle. Yeah, that seems right. And let's control some vertices to make it look nicer. Okay, chest controller. We'll drag these 2 points as well a little bit. Okay, now let's freeze the transformation. So I'm going to go to modify, freeze transformation, steps are also done. So what we need to bind for the chess controller. And for the chess controller, what I need is spine IK twist. So this is what I need. So just like I did before, I'm going to go with Windows, General Editors, Connection Editor, and to the left side I'm going to load the chess controller, reload left. To the right side I'm going to load the spine IK. So this time chess controller rotate Y should be connected with twist of the spine IK. If you do this correctly, you should see the rotate Y here is giving you the controller. So we have created our control rig in a partial way. So we have controllers for the leg, left leg, left arm, right arm, hip and chest. Additionally, you can create controllers for the knee, the lower leg, the neck, hair, head, fingers and whatever the rest of the controllers that you need. But for this particular lesson, I think this is enough. So let me show you how to control these and how to use these in order to create a small animation. Now I will press number 5 to fill it up, and I will turn off the X-ray vision. So this is the character. Okay, let's use these controllers to bring this character to a different pose. So I'm going to use the leg controller, and let's keep it like that maybe, and you can use the hand controller. Additional duplicate which I didn't see there, and you can use this one. See, so using this you can create the exact pose that you need. And there's something called keyframe animation, which basically allows you to work in this timeline, and you can change this little by little and create keyframes to create the exact animation that you need. So hope you understood the basic way of rigging. Now as your assignment, I want you to select a character. You can download a character from the internet if you need, but I prefer if you can build your own character if you have time. Whatever the case, it doesn't have to be a human character, it doesn't have to be the exact same character. You can select a different character, like a mythical character like a dragon or a T-Rex or dinosaur, whatever that you want, or even a character like a dog or a cat, or even a robot, or basically a human. Whatever that you need, you have the freedom to select anything that you want and create a control rig. I prefer if you give more details to it and make sure that you can change the pose of that character. So you have exactly 1 week to do that. I will make sure a link is available on the course web, so you create it and upload your binaries and the file and the snapshot of your work into the course web. If you have any questions, you can ask in the question forum. Thank you.